Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jeep Journals, and today I want to showcase a Dean Mako acoustic guitar. This Mako guitar was inspired and I guess overall built or conceived of by Dave Mustaine of a band called Megadeth, which is it's a pretty interesting rock band. I'm kind of laughing because most of my audience probably doesn't necessarily associate with this band. Now, the things I like about this guitar, aside from the amazing colors of it, are the fact that it's got slashes for a sound port, and it's got some really pretty inlays. It's got a Mako on the headstock. It's a shark, and I love the cutaway so that, you know, when I get really amazing with guitar and start playing the higher notes, I actually can move my hand down or up the fretboard to be able to do that. And I love that this has to do something with Mother Nature, with wildlife. For those of you who have watched this channel for some time, you know that I'm primarily on a kick where I'm talking about nature, wellness, and conservation, how these things go hand in hand. And so today I want to show you this guitar by basically playing it for a little while. And then as I'm doing that, I'm going to be showing you pictures of this instrument. And maybe there'll be some dialogue that talks about some of the features of this guitar. But in the meantime, this is a real simple 2-chord song, and it's called Blindsided. So it's like blindsided, like blindsided in a vehicle, but blindsided. So, and I also don't know music. I mean, a lot of this stuff I just learned how to do by doing it. I know some chords, and I tend to make up a lot of my own chords. And as you can tell, if you heard when I was talking, I was trying to play chords and talk at the same time, and something happened. There was kind of a synaptic misfire that caused me to talk 2 times when I was really just talking once. But I think in my head I heard I was talking about, I make up a lot of chords. It's not quite a stutter. There's a synaptic misfire that absolutely happens when I'm trying to think of with these 2 sides of my brain. One that's playing basically a simple chorus, and the other one that can barely keep a constant pitch while it's talking, depending on the mindset that it's in and how it hears itself. In other words, as I'm hearing myself play this chord, I noticed that the strumming pattern was off, and so what I was talking about had to be regulated. Sometimes, have you ever driven with someone who's really bad at talking and maintaining control of the vehicle at the same time? How about, have you ever been in a vehicle under a high pressure situation where the GPS is recalculating things, there's road construction going on, and the person next to you is yelling? So anyway, I'm going to get on with this song, and then I'm going to show you some pictures of this guitar as I promised. Please just listen along, and if you like this song, I encourage you to look for, I'll have a link in the description area, look for the former version of this, which was accompanied instead by footage of wildlife that was actually in the Big Bend National Park, or on a snowy drive in the Yellowstone area, I believe is where the other one was captured, or how the other one was captured. But anyway, again, the song is called Blindsided. I appreciate you listening to all of the stories about how these tales have evolved, and I absolutely appreciate your continued viewership. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for sharing, thank you for watching, and thank you for contributing. It's really helped me to kick this into a new gear and really start the work that has to happen. Maybe we'll talk soon, we'll see. Out of the darkness comes light. Can you still hear me inside? And I've been blindsided. And I've been blindsided. You left a message, I don't return it. You sent a postcard and I burned it. You think I'm mad now, but I earned it. You taught a lesson and I learned it. And I've been blindsided. And I've been blindsided. I hope I see you in time. If not for reason, then rhyme. Maybe we'll talk soon, we'll see. Maybe we'll talk now with me. And I've been blindsided. And I've been blindsided. So once again, this is primarily a presentation of the Dean Mako in its natural finish. There are 3 variations of this guitar, more than 3 if you count the bridge. In some cases, the bridge is one design, and in some cases, it's another design on the same color palette. In other words, for this guitar, I've only seen it with this style bridge. For the black guitar, I've seen it with a shark fin type bridge. And on the Glory version of this guitar, I've seen it both pictured with the shark fin type style and also with this more standard style. And the inlays are different on all 3 of the guitars. Well, they're actually different on 2 of the guitars. This guitar and the Mako, this natural finish, and the Glory version both have these what are called shark teeth inlays with the regular fret dots. And the funny thing is that the black Mako has actual shark teeth inlays. It's not a style, it's actually the tooth of a shark that's inlaid on the fretboard. You'll see that if you watch the other videos. And this is really just the first one that I'm kind of trying to warm up with this year. Trying something out in the garage. I'm still not really what's incentivized to the point where I really want to just, belt out a song, really singing and causing too much commotion, because really what I want to focus attention on here is the wildlife and nature of this channel. And in order to do that, I have to show this story in just a way where somebody out there can understand what I'm talking about, and maybe they're an amazing singer who's amazingly talented at singing things that they're inspired by, especially if it has to do with the recovery of and wellness of wildlife and nature. And maybe they'll want to sing some of these songs alongside me, or even in place of my own ever so lovely voice, so that I can focus on bringing the music the way that it's meant to be presented, which maybe is without a voice. These guitars, they have an inspirational feel to them. What I would love more of this guitar would be to see something like it, where the sound ports are different than the typical sound ports that we normally see, but where the materials were all sourced from something that was either salvaged or maybe super fast growing. Like I mentioned on a segment before, Yamaha had an interesting concept where they were making guitars out of bamboo. Now I can tell right off the bat that the way that these guitars resonate is quite different. Even this Kona guitar over here has a different type of resonance than this bamboo guitar, which is why I believe that Yamaha didn't continue to produce as many of these. But again, with trial and error, and maybe even with considering different sound port shapes, maybe even different type of paint, there's certain type of processes that may cause a new era of music to finally hit the airwaves, in a way where it's a resurgence, almost like in the past where people passed around cassette tapes. But in today's era, the equivalent of that, the equivalent of the promotional mixtape is basically this channel here. So if there's something you liked, if there's some kind of concept that you understood where you can help me to further this message, please share this message. Please feel free to like and subscribe, or even dislike it. Thumbs down is a valid response. You can tell me why. Just all I ask is that if I'm going to show you mine, please show me yours. And so if you have some song ideas that are more resonant, more able to resonate with the nature and wildlife segment, such as, for an example, just as an example, many people who watch this clip, they might watch it for some entirely different reason than music altogether. And they might learn that the person who inspired this guitar, Dave Mustaine, is from a band called Megadeth. And in that band, as the lead singer of that band, he also came up with a song called Countdown to Extinction. And it's a very compelling song that tells a story that's something that a lot of metalheads moshed to. A lot of metalheads really, just shouted and shook their fist at in defiance almost. And at the same time, at that very same arena event, we're being handed plastic cups of whatever it is that we're paying way too much for. That's basically sweetening the experience along the way. So in a lot of ways, I do talk about these concepts, and I do diverge wildly from the income-only, prosperity-driven focus of this type of a channel. And I talk a little bit more about, let's not think about the money aspect of it. Let's think about the sensibility of it. We can have conference after conference where people get together and learn to appreciate all kinds of things. But if we're loading up on all of the plastic one-time use things to sustain that type of a meeting, well, we need to learn to do something else. And we need to learn to do it so fast that maybe we need to create some kind of easy to follow, simple tunes that even a child could understand and share with their family in a way where it's like, not just in defiance, not just angry, but emotionally ready to take on whatever is challenging us at the moment. So that's what this song was about. It basically starts out saying, so now you're calling for me, maybe we'll talk soon, we'll see. Out of the darkness comes light. Can you still hear me inside? And I've been blindsided, and I've been blindsided. You left a message, I don't return it. You send a postcard, and I burned it. This is talking about from other people's perspectives. It's a shifting dynamic where we can recognize having received something that we don't want to return. I even talked about that in my last segment. I got contacted by someone. I really didn't want to have this conversation, and they actually helped me by not answering the call when I was calling them up. They only want to leave messages. They only want to talk in snippets. They don't want to have other parties involved so that we can have a full conversation about the destructive tendencies that are occurring in the persons that we're trying to mutually have a conversation about. For me, I can't hardly have an impact on anybody's choices if they themselves are only choosing destructive avenues of approaches. So with all of this in mind, no matter how you're hearing me or why you're hearing me, again, if there was something that resonated with you, I hope that I inspire you to share these video clips, because this is what I'm doing. I'm doing everything I can to try to raise awareness and try to conserve time. And also, I would love to be able to help you out, out there in New Mexico, for an example. You've got some network issues, some basic setup issues that I would love to help with. I would also love to help minimize the need for those technologically outdated systems to continue to remain in place while we sit there drinking our one-time use errant debris that ends up on the same exact paths that I basically walk around when I walk around your facility. So I'm not outing anybody. I'm not suggesting that something is just being done so wrong that I'm angry at everything. What I'm saying is there is a lot of work to be done. And until we can share the message in just the right way, we're going to come up far short of what we're able to accomplish. And the time that we have seems to be, well, there's no better time than now to start rocking. So if you're going to rock out with if you're going to rock out with your Bach out in the wild, please keep it in your ears. Don't blast it over all of the other wildlife that's occurring right then, because first of all, it's difficult to hear birds in our native environments because the birds have been on the decline in certain areas. And second of all, not everyone likes the same style of music, which is why I've produced quite a variety here, hoping that we can kind of tune into something that maybe we can all resonate with. And if not, hey, I'll make a version of a song that's not quite Countdown to Extinction, not quite Dave Mustaine's pipes of angst and amazing passion, and also not quite something that'll cause the band to kick you out for doing what came natural to you, And by that, I meant that on a couple of levels. If you have watched this journey, I have a segment about how I got kicked out of one fan club's Facebook page, and it was simply for sharing a sentiment just like this, alongside with a song that had to do with these concepts, And a lot of times I'll touch on the topics of some of these ideas and values of peace, somehow delving into a spiritual side, which is that if we are not naturally inclined to preserve and uphold and praise that which we are entrusted to, that which we are steward of, then it's possible that we may only have learned to kill, steal, and or destroy. And if we've learned to kill, steal, and destroy, and that's the only way that we know how to live because of what legal thoughts that we have, then we might be coming up short in ever asking the question to ourselves, we can do all these things, sure, but is it right? So I hope you've enjoyed this segment of show and tell. I hope that you understand that this Dean Mako in its natural finish is one of 3, and then I'm going to have 2 other segments with a guitar that looks just like this but is very different, and I'll show the pictures as far as why they're different in each segment. But all in all, this is a continuous, non-stop story that can only be learned about on thejeepjournals.com. So I tell the story there. I hope that my key audience will tune in at some point. And everyone else who is my key audience who is tuning in, don't forget, I really, really, really would benefit from helping to share the plight of all that we are seeing if somebody would help share what I'm showcasing. What I'm showcasing is just the photographic demonstration of what has happened all the way up from back from 1993 to current in specific places, for an example, in Big Bend National Park. So, wellness and conservation. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.